Hello! Today I'm going to talk about lint, dust, stuff in the air. I'm not even used to the word lint. Lint is not a word that I would commonly use. I just use the word dust, but my American friends and some European friends will use the word lint. And as far as I'm aware, they're interchangeable and they describe the same thing and same problem. You may have seen my two-part video on Dreadlock Residue, and if you haven't, you can check those out, where in the first part of the two-parter I explain what residue is and how to identify it, and then in the second part I talk about how to avoid and remove residue. This is the same sort of thing, but I'm going to try and do it in one video where I talk, because it's not as big a problem. Residue is kind of a big thing. Lint in Dreadlocks is more sort of a result of residue in Dreadlocks. They're kind of linked. Residue in Dreadlocks makes lint in Dreadlocks worse, and if you have lint in your Dreadlocks, it's normally a sign that you have residue in your Dreadlocks. Okay, lint, dust, it's everywhere, you know. I don't have to explain what lint and dust is, I hope. And because it's everywhere, you can get it on your dreads. You know, your dreads are going through the air, getting stuff on it, you're sitting on stuff, you're laying on stuff. Of course you're going to get dust on your Dreadlocks. It's not a big deal until it stays there. So I mean, you get dust on your clothes and you brush it off, or you put the clothes in the washing machine, or you wash the clothes, or whatever you do to wash your clothes, then the dust is going to come off. And the same thing normally happens with dreadlocks. So you get dust on your dreads, and then when you go in the shower, dust and stuff comes off. No big deal. But it can be a big deal when it doesn't come out. So you're just going along doing your everyday stuff, and then you're like, oh, I have some grey fluff on my dread. Oh wait, there's more grey fluff than I thought. And like, oh, there's grey fluff all in here. And that can happen because if you have residue in your dreadlocks, it's kind of a sticky, slimy, waxy stuff. It sort of coats the hairs, and if you've seen my residue video, you'll know all about it, but I just thought I'd summarise it there quickly. And what happens is, the dust and other dirt stuff sticks to it. So instead of it just getting brushed off and washed off, it kind of stays there, sticks there, and builds up. So that's what I mean by lint and dust being visible on dreadlocks being, you know, a sign that there may be a residue problem within. So quickly, main places that you can pick up dust and lint on your dreadlocks, and you may want to, you know, try and avoid these if you're getting lint problems. Obviously, laying down. You're going to lay down to sleep, but if you're sleeping in a particularly maybe a dusty place, or you have sheets that and pillows and stuff that, you know, aren't particularly compatible with your hair, you're going to be picking up dust off of those sometimes. Clothing, certain clothing, you can get little fibres when you take the shirts on and off getting stuck to your hair. Hats and things, but basically just going around, it's quite common to get dust getting stuck to your hair. A big one is towels, old towels. When you're drying your hair, especially if you're having residue problems, so your hair is even still wet with it, you can get little bits of towel flaking off and sticking to your hair. I've seen it where someone had all the same towels in the house. They were matching towels, they were all blue towels, and then the ends of the dreads, and then the dreads had build-up of blue fluff, and that was because the towels were leaving fluff behind in the dreadlock, and you could see very clearly where the fluff was coming from. So how to, you know, try and limit your chances. You can maybe try and change what you're covering your pillows with, or maybe buy a new pillow if it's a problem. I don't have a problem, I don't think, with getting fluff from my pillows. I have a problem getting feathers from my pillows. You might have seen a video, I think it was one of my Q&A ones not so long ago. Not entirely sure I remember. But halfway through the video, I did notice that there was a feather stuck in my hair, and that's because I keep getting, well, I have birds and also feathers in the pillows, but I'm getting feathers stuck in my hair quite often. If you're getting dust from your pillows, you may want to try and avoid those as best you can. Change that up. The main one that I think you can sort of deal with to try and limit your dust lint problem is changing your towel. I, for my hair, like to use really light towels, not really fluffy ones, because the fluffy ones you're more likely to get little bits coming off, but there are towels specifically designed for not flaking. So those are microfiber towels. So I would recommend, if you're looking for such a thing, you can search for a microfiber towel, and that is going to really limit the amount of flaking off of fabric that you're going to get stuck in your hair. How to identify a lint problem. If you haven't already seen it, then it's probably not such a big deal. Sometimes you'll just be sitting there and notice, oh, there's a little grey ball. I don't have any to sort of say, hey, look, this is what I'm talking about. But sometimes you'll find it like underneath, a bit that sticks out, or underneath a loop, or in the tip. Sometimes if you split the tip, you'll find just inside, or just anywhere randomly on the dread, you might see sort of a little coloured, you know, if you're using the same colour towels, or normally it's just a little grey ball of fluff. And then when you look, sometimes it'll be right inside the dread, and then it'll be freaking out, going, oh, what's all this fluff? Some people seem to think that is mould. I've never actually seen a mould problem in dreadlocks get so bad that you can physically see the mould. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I have never actually seen it. I've just seen plenty of people with lint problems that then assume that, you know, it's not lint, that it's then mould. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, and as far as I've ever seen, it's always just been lint, and maybe they have bad residue and the dread smell, and they think that that's mould as well, but it's just, you know, not taking care of your dreadlocks properly. Whereas the lint problem is really easy to, you know, come across. I've had lint before. It's goes hand in hand with residue, so if you go a few washes without rinsing properly, and mainly I get it when I'm away from home, so if I'm using a shower that maybe isn't as powerful as I get back home, so if it's not a very good shower, or if it's really hard water so I can't get my soap to foam up properly and it stays stuck in my hair. It only takes a few washes to get residue in your dreads, and if you've seen the residue video you'll know all about it, but it just takes a little bit of residue building up, and then you get the dust sticking to it, and then it's like, oh no, it's the end of the world. But it's really not. So first thing is, don't worry if you're having lint in the dreadlocks, because, you know, as easily as you get rid of the residue, then the dust is just going to fall out anyway. Sometimes when I've had residue, I just take a needle and I pick it out. But I normally find that a good deep clean used to treat the residue is also going to get rid of most of the lint problem too. So, lint is kind of everywhere. You're definitely going to pick it up unless you live in some sort of like vacuum tube with no dust in it at all. It's normal for it to be on your hair because it's normal for it to be anywhere on your clothes, so it's going to get on your hair. You can limit your sort of exposure to it, well, limit your hair's exposure to it by, you know, making sure you're not using pillows that are falling apart, using towels that are falling apart, you know, hats that are falling apart. If I'm sleeping somewhere where I know that it's going to pick up stuff, I'll sometimes sleep with if you see my sleeping with dreadlocks video, sometimes I will sleep with, when I take my t-shirt off to sleep, I just sort of pull it over my head and tie it up, and then the dreadlocks are safe, and then I can lay down on whatever I want, and I'm not going to get stuff sticking to my hair. It will probably help with getting feathers stuck to my hair too. You can identify the lint by seeing little balls of fluff, anywhere on the dread, sometimes in the tip. You'll sometimes see it if you've been really good and not got any residue from your shampoo, but you've still got it. You can sometimes find it on the outside of the dread here if you've been using a soap or a body wash in the shower, and then let the dreadlock touch it after you've shampooed your hair. Then you get a little bit of residue coating the outside of the dread, and then as soon as you go somewhere and it starts touching, then it starts to pick stuff up. That's another way that you're going to get residue on the dread and it starts picking up dust, so you just have to be careful. And then if you do have it, you don't have to worry. You can deal with it the same way that you deal with getting rid of any of the residue. If it doesn't come out with a normal shower, then you want to do a super deep clean, and you can see how to do that by clicking here. I'll put my video up and it'll also be in the link underneath. I'll also put the link down there for the normal dreadlock residue videos if you haven't seen those. I think that sort of sums up lint. There's not a whole lot to know about it, but it's useful to use it as sort of an indicator to tell whether you have a residue problem, because, you know, residue is kind of invisible. It just sort of coats the hairs. You can't actually see residue unless it's like really bad residue, unless you've like dumped a whole bottle of soap on your head. It's kind of hard to tell, but you know, this is a visible sign of it. If you have any other questions regarding lint problems, dust problems that you would like to talk to me about, you can leave a comment down here, or you can tweet me at lazy_dreads. And if you enjoyed this video, you can thumbs it up, and then I'll know that you enjoyed it and didn't hate it and hate everything that I'm doing. And if you want to see more stuff, you can subscribe, and then magically to your YouTube homepage, when I upload something new, you will see it and it will be there, and you will be able to enjoy that too. And as always, plenty more stuff on lazydreads.com. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.